Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order, 7:33. Would you please stand for the opening prayer and pledge allegiance?
Lord, we're meeting here today to conduct matters of business, guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being the source of our guidance tonight. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, please.
Lorraine,
Here.
Shoemaker, Mathis,
Here.
Krug is present, Stretch Kessler,
Here.
Stretch. Yes.
Gopal,
Here.
Tucker.
Present.
You have your full board present.
All right. To the members of tonight's audience, Joe, this is being televised. It's going to be televised, and it will be on 191 starting on Thursday for the next 2 weeks. So if you want to see yourself speak, you're okay.
Video, yeah.
Approval of tonight's agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda? A motion is in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Presentation. State Representative Joel Graves is here to give us an update on what is happening in our government.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Board members, appreciate the opportunity to be here and kind of give an overview and update to what we're doing in Lansing for you and sometimes to you, but hopefully more for you. But obviously, the Flint water issue has taken the oxygen out of the room. We've spent an incredible amount of resources, time, and energy in discussing the issue, trying to figure out, first of all, how can we assist, how can we help, what's the best way of doing
volume
it, but also
to get more volume in the room from that microphone out there. I know it picks up fine in here.
There's got to be some issue with
Okay.
because every time I turn it up, I hear
Feedback, okay.
I can try.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't work. It's not a big deal. I mean, there's nobody here, but
And so not much has changed. I said a long time ago that if we spend, because first thing we did, we spent the $9.35 million to put Flint back on the Detroit water. And I said then that we had lead in the water before then, we'll have lead in the water after, and that's what they're saying. So that all we do is we'll come back to where we found them. And we hoped that maybe the matter would be resolved to some extent, but obviously it wasn't. We then spent another $28 million for what I consider health and safety, make sure the kids are being properly tested for lead problems, and if there's any issues, that those medical bills are taken care of, as well as other issues that need to happen to make sure they have safe drinking water. Last Thursday, the Senate voted to give another $30 million to pay for back water bills and water bills up through April. And we are, tomorrow afternoon, I think it's at 4 o'clock, we're meeting with the governor's office, actually the governor, to discuss a little further, along with Detroit Public Schools, because that's an issue to fall, but we'll get a better handle on it. And let me shift gears, because I'm not sure what the end game is for Flint, and that's what many of us are asking the governor to lay out tomorrow. Show us what the end game is instead of the constant drip of money going out. And because the other side is just playing politics with this, which is, I think, pretty sad. And we don't need people coming to Flint and using the Flint residents as props. We need to either help with the situation or come up with some thoughts and ideas of how we can better do our job. But anyway, Detroit Public School System has enough school to probably last through April, and then they'll be bankrupt. So the governor's going to talk to us tomorrow about what our options might be The cost will be between $500 to $750 million, depending what we do. We have an attorney here tonight, who may talk more about this than I do, but what are our options? Sadly, in the state of Michigan, school boards can make really bad decisions, create this huge legacy costs, and when they go bankrupt, the state of Michigan owes the debt. So even if they don't go bankrupt, we owe the debt. So I think that's something that we need to be addressed. But we're going to talk about that tomorrow as well, because the state of Michigan is being drained by a few of the big cities. So I think we need to do something to address that. I know Tom and I have had discussion recently on Senate Bill 571. It was Public Act 269, which I think we got mislabeled as the gag order. I told many people I found it offensive. The purpose of the bill was to codify existing law. You cannot use tax dollars to advocate for more tax dollars. That's been the Michigan law for a long time. It's true. You can inform and you can educate, but you can't advocate. We had too many people violating that law, and so they said we needed to enforce it, make it clear what the statute was supposed to read, and only in the government can your clarification cause more confusion, but that's pretty much what it did. But it also added a 60-day window, I think it was, Tom, 60-day window where you couldn't send out information. That has been rescinded in House Bill 5219, and I think Tom told me he did have a look at that. That basically now puts us back where we originally started, with clear language that you cannot use tax dollars to advocate for more tax dollars. And there was a lot of egregious examples on what you want on this, but it could be. I know City of Flint was, believe it or not, was using one of the bad examples where they said they have police millage, we need this passed, or we will lay off police officers. That's advocating for your money with an idle threat, and it did pass, and they still laid off police officers. So people were pretty outraged over that. It could be as simple as we need a yes vote. That's a violation of law. You can inform and you can educate. I happen to stop at one township, not yours, and the ladies in the office said, we cannot tell people what's on the ballot. That's just not true. No one ever said you couldn't do that. So of course you can inform and you can educate. You can tell them there's going to be a school village on the May ballot. I know Linden's going to have a May ballot, but they can't say we need a yes vote. We need an affirmative vote. We need this, or or we're going to do this. We're going to end busing. That's advocating using tax dollars. So Senate Bill 571 and House Bill 5219 are nothing more than protection of poor taxpayers to make sure that their tax money dollars are being used wisely. I don't know if there's anything else we hear about, questions, or anything else.
Any of you board members? What about the road situation? The roads.
Yes.
Every day we get calls constantly.
Yes.
And I know the funds are not there, but
The money, the governor wanted to bond for it. We pushed back on that for a lot of good reasons. The decision we made to do what we did, we looked at what could MDOT and road commissions do tomorrow. And the answer is not much. They don't have the equipment, they don't have the employees. They weren't able to just gear up and go. They needed a lead time. So that's why the road package begins in January 2017. Because that much time, okay, the money's coming, and you can bank on it. It's going to be here, so start hiring people, start lining up contractors, equipment, whatever you need, because on that date, the gasoline increase is 3 cents a gallon, and registration fee, I know there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. Your registration fee is not increased. And what I say about that is, if today your registration fee for a brand new car is $200, and the next year it is dropped 10% to $180.
oh, it's dropped.
That's what you do now under current law.
Okay.
The second year is another 10%, with that 164. Then it goes down to another 10%, and after the fourth year, it levels off and stays there for the life of your vehicle. That's the way it is today. With the new legislation, it drops by 5%. So it doesn't go above 200, it just goes down.
Goes down.
Right. Now, the values of the vehicle does go up, and that's what's gonna drive up cost.
And it puts it
That's
up.
With or without this legislation. So that starts in 2017, and then once again, it's ramped up over a many-year process to make sure we get the roads repaired, and it's dedicated to roads.
So you might have heard that we got some arsenic in our water.
We do.
Wondering how many millions do we have in Lansing to take care of that
I
problem?
absolutely agree, and I made that point. For the last 15 years, I've been buying my water.
Oh, I have too.
Because they have arsenic. I talked to our county commissioner, Tony Brown, over the weekend. He told me he does the same thing. And nobody's running to our aid and saying, we're going to give you a new well. So yeah, we've given some pushback. There's obviously some, because of DEQ response, or lack of, because of what the EPA did, we own some of the problem. We need to step up. But I guess back to what I said earlier, we need to understand what the end game is. What is going to be our debt? But meanwhile, you know, I bought my water today for drinking water for the next week, and I've been doing that for 15 years because I don't want to drink the suspected arsenic in water.
Yeah, me too, but they are different in the sense that we knew that when we put the well down, it's naturally occurring. And what happened there was a result of a stupid mistake. And people weren't notified as quickly as they should have been. So
Right, I mean.
it's a little bit different, but it's pretty similar too.
Yeah, it was a city employee who should have known, or should have known, put the anti-corrosive was in the plant.
$100 a day.
150, I think it was.
Oh, sorry,
They're the
yeah.
ones that should
Yeah.
have done that. It wasn't the state of Michigan, it wasn't DEQ. And what, you know, DEQ doesn't live at the plant. You know, they monitor the situation from Lansing. Maybe a phone call, maybe emails, maybe spot checks, but they don't come in and say, okay, are you doing this, are you doing that? That's up to the city employee, who obviously wasn't doing that properly. And, you know, for years, they drew their water from the Flood River. And the Flood River water doesn't have lead in it. It's the lead pipes and the wood pipes in some cases in the city.
Wood?
Wood pipes are still there.
Didn't know that. Okay.
Read your My City magazine.
Wow. Wow. Any other questions for Joe?
Well, just a comment, Joe, and I haven't heard it talked about, you know, the mayor the other night wanted all the pipes torn up and replaced next 30 days. And what helped us back when we had a consent judgment, and something Flint can do, because I checked with engineers, is you can line those pipes and it will make them almost like PVC on the interior to protect from the lead.
That's a good idea, Bob.
But I've talked to everybody I could think of and they won't even call me back. So, you know, the expensive thing about sewers and water is the excavating to get to the pipes. And there is a technique that we use that saved us money by cleaning the pipe, inserting just like a long balloon. You put heat on it, hot air into it, it expands, and when it goes up, it adheres to the walling of the pipe. When it cools, it's like PVC. Sure sounds a lot cheaper than,
It was,
yeah,
it was a lot cheaper.
probably 20% of what it would have cost by doing that.
Torrey Road was one of the roads that we did because we couldn't get into the pipes because of all the other things underground and the driveways and the road and everything. So this is what we did. But like Bob said, you can't just say tear up all the pipes because there still could be good pipes. But you got to get people in there to video them, and you got to shut the water off and reroute it for a little while so you can get the cameras in there to video to make sure where the bad pipes are.
Sure, they can test it at the tap, and tell you where the bad pipes are.
Pardon me?
They can test at the tap and discover, you tell you what the bad pipes are.
Yeah,
You know, I called Sheriff McCall when it first happened, the lead problem, and I said, of course, the city jail, county jail is located in the city, how's the water testing? He said, water here is fine, and it was in pockets, which leads me to believe if you have lead pipes, you're probably
you're
going to
right.
water.
You're right.
Back in November, I was on a radio show, they asked me if you have anything that you would like to recommend to the new city mayor here in Weaver. And I said, yeah, if I was sure, I would quickly apply for federal grants on loans to replace some lead pipes and our wood pipes that many of the cities did across this country 20 years ago, because it's never been done. And I'm sure that's never happened either. But the grants and loans are available. I just don't think it's, Fenton Township should be paid for it.
Do you know how many miles of pipe
I do not.
that City of Flint has? Because our township has over 100 miles of sewer pipes. And so I can imagine, but you're right, certain areas, no. And it's bad. But I know 26 years ago, when my husband was diagnosed with cancer esophagus, I thought, what do we all have in common? And the one thing that we all have in common is wells. And so from that day on, we started buying water, and this building has water, bottled water also, and for quite a long time. But because of the arsenic level.
Sure.
So, but we have the kits upstairs that the people can come in and test their own water, read the directions very good, and send it away. Or I believe it's McIntyre. You can take that kit to McIntyre. You mark off what you want checked out,
Right.
and then they will do that. I think the charge is $15 or something. But that's very important if people have doubts.
Yeah, the county will test it as well. I think the same thing.
Yeah.
But if somebody likes that idea, call me and I'll get you to the people. I've got nothing, as they say, no horse in the race. It just would maybe help them.
It makes sense. It
I'm not
makes
sure
sense.
they're open to suggestions. They want more money.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Just a couple things, Joe. I guess as a publisher, I wanted to say that the one thing I found really sad about the situation that exists in Flint is it's become political in nature.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of sad to me that the people that have been affected the most, the kids, the families that are in the city of Flint, instead of everybody getting together to find a solution, it looks like a lot of grandstanding from a lot of politicians, and it's really a sad day for the city of Flint when I look at it. And look who's spent time at the White House instead of fixing the problem. So I hope that you're not part of that.
No.
And the second thing I'd like to say is as you know, I ran for your office. All I got to say is I'm very proud to have you as my state representative. You have a perfect voting record for what, 4.5 years?
4 years.
4 years, and I know that, and I hope that your colleagues or your fellow state representatives do as good a job as you've done. And I'm very proud, Joe, to have you as my rep. Just wanted you to know that.
And I can honestly say also that some of the residents will call Joe's office, and you have 2 young men that are unbelievable, and they will check in on everything. Anything that a complaint comes in, they check on it. They call us back just to get a history of it also. I've never seen 2 young men so qualified and so dedicated to you. They're wonderful.
Thank you.
Only wish Washington worked that well.
Yes, yeah, but they're on top of it. But I can't remember their names.
Well, we have Ken Warren and Aaron Porter.
There you go, okay. They're great. All right. Anything else? None? Okay. Joe, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Wish Denise well.
Thank you. And I'll be sure to give you some credit for the pushkis.
Yeah.
For the what? He's just buying favors.
I've known Joe since
Oh, forever.
you were a trainee supervisor. That's longer than either one of us went.
Right out of the military.
Did we go traditional with prune, or did we go
Oh, no, Bavarian cream,
Bavarian cream?
strawberry, and blueberry.
Strawberry and blueberry make, that's all you need to know.
I'll keep them in the back seat. Thank you.
Good driving food back and forth to
Yes.
Lansing.
Included in the packet are the minutes for January 25th, regular meeting. Are there any revisions to the meeting minutes?
I had a little trouble reading page 9 of the minutes.
Page 9?
Not sure, yeah. It was, I couldn't make it out.
You need a new prescription?
No?
No, page 9 is nothing. There it is.
Oh, there's
It's
nothing
empty.
else? Oh, nothing to
There's
read?
nothing to
No,
read.
it's just the end,
You're right.
I want to make sure I wasn't missing something.
No, probably what happened when I switch over to PDF,
It's
it
empty.
adjusts,
Yeah, I know.
and it must have spilled over and I didn't
From
notice
Word,
it.
yeah.
The
No,
paper
I'm
copy
just-
is 8 pages.
I caught the same thing. That's why I was teasing you.
I'm kidding, but I actually do have a couple of little minor corrections on the first reading for the accessory structure thing.
Okay.
I think what I said, at least what I was told, was that there were 4 in the last 22 years, 3 of which were actually the house was built. So
Okay.
I think that needs to be, but more significantly, if you could add the comment, the planning commission was concerned that if we prohibited accessory structures until the principal structure was completed, that we would be forcing folks to leave building materials open and unsecured, at least for a period of time until the house was in a position where you could secure it. So the potential theft of building materials was an issue that the planning commission was one of the factors that weighed into their recommendation against approving the proposed amendment.
All right. Any other questions in regards to that? All right, I'm going to say the meeting minutes stand approved as amended. Okay. Expenditures. Are there any questions regarding any of your expenditures? We got 2 lists, and you add them together. Did you get them?
I got them.
Okay.
I'll say that we did not spend $27,000 on 3 batteries.
No.
Another one of those examples of the shortened version, not telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I think the batteries were $600 of that amount.
For the 3 of them,
Yeah.
yes.
I was just gonna ask if they were rechargeable or something like that.
They're the batteries. that-
Disposable after 30 days.
Those batteries go into our big generators. They're probably 100 pounds each. They're enormous batteries. So I checked on that too, John. I thought, oh my
Whoa.
goodness. So anyway,
Begin the battery sales business.
is there any other questions regarding any of these expenditures?
I have a request.
You have what?
A request.
Okay.
Is it possible to get a completed set of expenditures before our meeting? I mean, I understand there's a timing issue, but it seems like every meeting we have the same problem where really for us as board members to review these, and there's always changes, I would like to see a solid number that we can vote on and a solid list of expenditures in my packet, even if it's Monday morning. Just a request.
We can forego the extra, the only reason we do it is we have ones that need to be paid before the next meeting that come in after I've created the packet and sent it out. We don't, we usually get our mail, if we get our mail before we close on Fridays, it's last minute, it doesn't get open until Monday. And we get things on Monday. And if it could wait till next meeting, it waits till next meeting.
I wouldn't want to do that.
The only way we could do it differently would be do a midweek or a middle of the 2-week period check run, but then you're approving them after the fact because they have to go out before our next meeting.
So we only do AP, what, like on Fridays?
Well, they're input all week long.
But when do we cut the checks?
Every
other week?
It's wrapped up on the Friday before the board meeting.
And you're saying that all of these add-ons are all less than net 30? I mean, we're talking about 17 days generally till the next meeting.
Right.
I believe so.
And all
No.
these are due before, they come in and they're due and we pay them within 2 weeks?
I'd have to check the individual ones, but,
We pay them every 2 weeks, you're right. Every 2 weeks.
Well, I'm just, typically when you get an invoice, it's usually net
Net
30.
30.
Yeah, but not always. Ours have always been every 2 weeks.
Well, I know, but the question is whether that is necessary or just existing procedure.
Well, just alone with Tri-County Times, I've run stuff and that's always net 30. Every time I've run something,
Yeah.
when we had stores and stuff like that, it was always, or 45 if you needed to.
Well, I can understand, besides my company, we only cut checks on Fridays. But we'll do a special run. But what I'm saying is like you said, we get a bill in. I just feel uncomfortable because every time I come here, I look at Mr. Tucker.
Well, I look at, because
I shouldn't have to do that.
I look at what Tom sends out on
all
Friday
right.
before I ever get here. So when I get here and there's another sheet, I haven't looked at it yet.
All right,
So-
Tom, did they just get this other sheet tonight on their desk?
yes.
All right, I got mine earlier
That ain't
today.
fair.
Oh, no, I didn't. No, I just got it here.
That's fair.
Yeah, I got
I
it,
just
I had
got
them I got it late this afternoon.
Yeah.
I think Vince's question is a fair one. Do we need to, I mean, if we need to, because I can foresee circumstances where something comes in and needs to be paid immediately. I get that. But we're getting it every meeting, and this is a small one. I mean, a lot of times we have
$100 and some thousand.
of ads and yeah.
All right,
we
we're
look at
going to
them.
have to look into it because I really believe
Just see what we can do.
it's got to be.
We have a couple of options. I mean, we can just say we won't add any, but if something has to be paid before the next meeting, it's going to get paid. You'll be approving it after the fact. If you're okay with that approach, we're good. But I mean,
John's shaking his head no.
Prove it after the fact, that's just like, oh man, that's,
I'll give you, for instance, we got $700,000 in bond payments invoice today, but it's due
It's not going to be due before our next meeting.
1st of March. So we didn't have to put it in
Yes.
today.
Yeah.
But if we
should've
pay it
known that was
earlier,
coming.
does that not?
Yeah, I was
get
gonna
us
say.
down?
No.
Oh, it don't.
I'm sorry, John?
We would have known that was coming. I mean, it's not a surprise. We have to wait for an invoice from them.
Well, sometimes the dollar amounts are a little bit different than what we expect. Not much, but a little.
No.
In the interest calculation, sometimes there's variations, or especially when the bonds are once issued through the county, sometimes they will apply a credit money they've invested. They'll reduce the interest. Now, there aren't too many county-issued bonds left. Most of them are our own, but we know approximately how much we're paying each time. Yes.
Well, I guess, Tom, my question would be, you said there's options. I would like to know those options because I feel uncomfortable voting for something that I can't review.
Okay.
And that's all I'm saying is that if there's a way to fix it, let's fix it.
Well, those are the options are.
We don't need to know the options tonight. I'm just saying,
Okay.
yeah, you could just look into them and report back, and
Absolutely.
we can make a decision.
On a happy note, I think the detailed version of the expenditures that we're getting now is far more detailed.
Oh, I love it.
And I appreciate that. It makes it a whole lot easier for me when I'm trying to sort this out. And I think long-term to be able to get a handle on, an example was, I think it was street lighting. It was broken down by sub and, lift station utilities by lift station. We never got that level of detail. So
No.
applause. I assume that's a function of our new accounts payable person.
Yes.
Pat on the back for her.
Very efficient, yes.
Trustee Tucker, don't infer that I was being on a bad note. I'm just saying that
I didn't mean that.
I feel that, I'm not trying to be rude, I'm just trying to say, I feel uncomfortable if I come in here and I look and it's $263,000, you spend the time to review it, and I come in and it's $480,000, and I'm like, I'm looking at everybody here going, I hope somebody's checking these.
You're right. That's an unfair characterization, and
That's right.
I withdraw.
Withdraw that.
All right, then. So Tom, all right. Are there any questions regarding the invoices? We had some questions. Tom, will you come back with an answer
Yes.
to that? A motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $518,299.32.
So moved.
Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mathis,
Yes.
Kessler,
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
I vote yes. Gopel,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Reports. Are there any committee reports to be made to the board? Communications? None. Adoption of ordinances. This is second reading of the Government Agency Cost Recovery Ordinance. And it was at our meeting on January 25th meeting. The ordinance would give the township authority to invoice property owners for improvements or repairs provided by the township or county agency that would benefit individual properties. We were talking in regards to this one the other night on the road commission and the tubes that go underneath the road, the driveways and that. And we would be billing them for that. Is there any board discussion in regards to it?
I apologize to this board, but I do have a couple, and I guess I would look to you, Trustee Tucker. If something is determined according to this language, as a landowner, a property owner, do I have the right to say, hold on a second, you're going to put a culvert underneath my driveway, can I go out and get my own estimate? Who is determined? I mean, you're saying the township determines what portion of that culvert is my expense and whose. So, I mean, I look at it as if I was going to, and I've went through this process before, whereas the county came in and said, this is the specs, we can do the road for 1.8 million, and we said, okay, that's great, we can do it to your specs, and it was $630,000. So, my concern is that as a property owner, do I have the decision to say, that's fine, I'll put a culvert in, but I'm going to put my own culvert in to the specs that the county requires, and this language does not allow them to do that, and then we as a township assess that property owner whatever the county charges. So if the county charges $18,000 to put the culvert in, and I can put it in for $2,000, is that our job?
Well, it's a fair question. I'm going to back up a little bit before I get around to trying to answer it, 'cause I'm not sure that I know the answer to the specific question that you're asking. But what's going on here is historically, when the county would do some work that benefited a particular residence, and I don't know how that determination was made, which gets to your question. But historically, what would happen is they would bill the homeowner for that work. Okay. Well, they don't want to be in the collection business for folks that don't pay. So now they've taken to billing us because we're more solvent or less. You know, we turn our bills in less than 17 days. So, you know, they get their money more regularly. So that's what this is about, is that we're now getting invoices for work that was done for one of our residents we didn't have anything to do with necessarily.
So we become
Yeah.
the collection
We
agent.
become the collector. It used
Well,
to
we become the responsible for fiscal part.
And
is
the
what-
fiscal responsible.
Right, is what is going on. We're trying to minimize the impact of that by allowing us to collect it back. You know, we probably have more leverage to do that than the county does. But whether they have the right to do that in the first place is another even better question. But they are. That's the practical thing. But to answer your question, I don't know if the county, Tom, do you know the answer to that? If you come up with a better price with a private contractor, will they let you do that?
Well, in general, they're not going to let you do work in their right of way.
No. Well,
But using the example of driveway culverts, all they're billing is their cost on the culvert itself, nothing more.
The material?
The material only.
No labor?
No. I mean, we're paying for, if it's a ditching and culvert project, there is some labor involved and we're paying that. Or we, depending on the program, we might be splitting it 50-50 with the county. The only part that we are passing on to the property owner is the material itself. That's one example. Another example, which we've had a few of recently, is someone is building a house, there's no lead on the sanitary sewer main, no stub for them, so one has to be constructed. What we've done so far is we build them and they pay us before we go out and put it in. So this ordinance may not even come into play on that type of example. But that's another example of the type of improvement where no one else is benefiting from it, so we need to have a way
In
to.
that scenario, they would ask for it. They'd say, need a lead.
Right.
The culvert thing might be a result of something we do with community, or 50/50 money, or
It
block
has to
grant
be-
money.
Well, it's usually in conjunction with a ditching project. If they have a culvert that's in good shape, the county will reset it and it'll be fine. If it's bent, full of holes, rusted out, they'll replace it and expect to be paid for it.
See, and
And
that's-
that means when they go down ditching and they tear up the culverts, if your culvert is all right, they put it on the side of the road and then they'll replace it. They do not always put new ones in there. And some of the culverts and driveways especially, they're crushed on the ends. Now they are also putting longer culverts for driveway entrances. And then another time, like Tom said, a farmer has an open field and he wants to be able to have a culvert to be able to come off the road to go into his field. And so he came to us, there it is, right there.
see, in that scenario, Vince, I doubt there's any room for third-party contracting, because they're going down the road and they're
No, I
laying pipe
understand.
and covering. So.
But the language here says, examples include but not limited to sanitary sewer leads, which Tom just spoke of, driveway culverts, and storm drain pipes or structures. This is a pretty open, this is almost a full-blown baseball game.
So what wording then, Vince, would you put in?
John, you're the attorney. I wouldn't agree to language like that.
Well, well, that's, from a resident standpoint, that's correct. From the township standpoint, if we don't have the mechanism,
Is that the way you
we
want it?
get stuck with the bills, because the county is going to bill us, not the resident.
So we are now going to become the collection
This
agency.
is a collection enforcement mechanism.
I wouldn't want somebody to come in with the property I have and say, well, you need a new, your drain pipe needs to be replaced and it's going to cost you $130,000 to replace it.
Yeah, I don't know that we ever make that determination for them. I would hesitate to say we don't, ever. Because if you got a flooding problem, well, if it's a generalized flooding problem though, then this doesn't come into play.
Doesn't come into
This
play.
is only comes into play if,
That's-
their
that's
property,
water and waste.
it's only their property that's affected by it. That's the only time this comes into play. So
Tom, have we ever had, as the county, is there any way that we could look at the county and see what's owed to the county for people that have said, well, this is something I don't feel I owe? My concern is that we end up having a problem 2 years from now. We've got an AR on our books for $290,000 from the county, and we're going, okay, what are we going to do? Sue 57 of
It's not
our
gonna go to that degree.
residents?
No.
Well, I think the number.
I understand what you're trying to do with the language.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the numbers and what you're talking about is theoretically possible. I think the practical reality is the numbers aren't anything like that.
You agree with that, Tom?
Absolutely.
Okay. I just wondered.
Yeah, driveway culverts is the one thing I would see happening on a relatively regular basis. The sanitary sewer leads are on an as-needed basis. We could go a decade with nothing else ever happening other than those two items.
You're right.
Easily.
And I think if somebody needed a culvert, then they should pay for it. I agree with that 100%. That's just part of owning a property. And but the language was kind of vague.
I get it, because it's an effective enforcement tool if you're on the receiving end of it.
And I just don't like the township being in a position to have to take people to court to try to collect money.
Yeah.
I think it's not our position.
Basically, at the road commission meetings and that, we discussed this, the majority of it was culverts, basically culverts.
And their problem was they were getting stuck with a lot of bills.
So will our policy be to collect for that culvert prior to its installation then? So we don't have an AR issue?
You're not going to know that
No.
though,
I don't
until they
think we'll
start
know
digging
until
them
the
up.
county bills us.
Well, yeah, but as soon as they dig it up, aren't we informed by the county, I'm going to replace X, Y, and Z's culverts?
They're
Yeah,
gonna,
wait
they're gonna
till
be
they
digging
know.
it up with, within hours or a couple of days at the most. They're not gonna leave that driveway inaccessible. If they dig it up and it's bad, they need to put another one down right then.
Right then.
Are they gonna walk up to the resident and at least say, hey, expect a bill coming? Or are you just gonna sit there and go, hey, look here,
Well, if we post this ordinance.
$425, whatever it is, that's a little bit of a shocker too. You go,
We
well,
can put it on the website, Tom, that this new ordinance was adopted. We've never really had any problems. I think road
We don't have,
commission more
John.
or less has had
we
problems.
don't have an obligation to notify?
No,
Nope.
nope, it's an interesting thing, because you probably want to, but on the other hand, think about how that's gonna be implemented. You got a guy out on a digger, finds a rusted up pipe, goes, knocks on the door and says it's gonna be, and I don't know what the usual number is, what's the usual
Not
number?
that.
It's a little over $100, I think.
Let's say just $250 just for the sake of argument. The guy in the house is gonna come out, look at the pipe and kick it and say, yeah, I think you need to put that back in the ground. I don't wanna spend the $250, and you got the guy, meanwhile, it's supposed to be moving down the road,
Yeah, you
who's
can't do it.
dickering with somebody about whether the pipe is any
It's
good.
worked well with
So
the
I get the
with,
problem.
county. But they're just getting too many of them right now.
Well, I think if you get to a situation where we are seeing problems like that, where there's big bills being dumped on people who think that it's not necessary, then I think you probably take a look at it.
My concern was, do they have the right? I understand that now. And number two is the fact that I just don't want the township to become a bank.
Yep. I don't know how that happened. Do we know how the policy got changed?
That's it. And from the drain commission, road commission,
Road drain? They
it
just-
was just due to the billing. And they do a lot of billing and they just thought they'd try this and other supervisors said, yeah, it's not a bad idea. And so that's how it came about. But it's basically the culverts in regards to this. All right, any other board discussion? Motion is in order to adopt the government agency cost recovery ordinance as presented.
So moved.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Shoemaker,
yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mathis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, number, proposed zoning ordinance amendment. This is the site plan escrow. This is the second reading. Gives the township the authority to require an escrow deposit for new commercial, industrial, and residential developments, which was introduced on our January 25th meeting. The escrow funds will be used to cover the cost of plan reviews by professional consultants. At one time, we had this, but some of these, now that we're coming into commercial property, basically on Thompson Road, these plan reviews can add up. And so, Tom, when you were talking about this with Pickett, did you come up with a fee per what?
I think we're still working on the methodology for determining how much to
The percentage?
ask for, how much to collect in
Yep.
escrow. We've had a couple of meetings on it. I think we're getting closer to having something. But this just sets the framework and gives us the authority
us.
to do it. And the simple logic is get the money up front rather than invoice them every time we get an invoice from a consultant. It's just really streamlining the process and getting away from the idea of having to do collection efforts. If we usually don't have too much trouble, because if they don't pay their bills, they can't get a COO, they can't
You're
move
right.
into their building, they can't sell their houses. So we do have leverage, but just from an operational standpoint, collecting 5,000, 10,000, whatever the amount is, depending on the size and scope of the project, just makes it simpler. Just pay the bills out of that, and if it runs out, we ask for more.
We ask for more.
And when we're done, whatever's left, they get back. And it's a very common practice, and the few that we've already done have had no issue with it at all.
Any more discussion? All
Tom,
right.
is it the it sounds from the language that also, that the zoning administrator, the planning commission determines it necessary, the township will submit a site plan for review by professional consultants. Again, just asking the question, it sounds to me that the language states that the township will submit this for review to whomever they choose, correct?
Correct.
So they don't have, it would seem to me every time I built something, I submit something that's been reviewed, an engineer's, done the survey, everything else, I come up to site plan with all of that done. What would be the review process? I mean, why would it have to be reviewed if the site's been engineered? And John, that may be, yeah, there you go. You can jump in on that. Again,
Yeah,
just
there's going to be changes.
maybe not
Well,
yet.
no,
Back in with changes though on the site plan too.
The problem is this, and we've had engineers come in and tell us, why are you making them pay twice? Seems like a stupid idea, until you sit and watch them come in and you realize that the applicant's own advocate is putting together the plan. And it is done from the applicant's perspective to try and generally minimize costs. So what the township's consultants would deem to be adequate in many cases is very different than what the hired, and they're both hired, but they have different perspectives and different goals that they're trying to achieve. So if we just leave it to the applicants and say, okay, applicants, engineers said it's okay, we run into things like, detention ponds that turn into lakes in front of schools and things like that.
Your answer was perfect. I just wanted to make sure the constituents understood. And everybody else understood why we do it, because
We have to.
in essence, we are protecting our township
Yeah.
against
Yep.
exactly what you just, all right, that's all I wanted to say.
Yep.
All right, a motion to adopt the amendment to Article 8 of zoning ordinance number 594 to revise language relating to the site plan review process. Do
So
I have a
moved.
motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mathis.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
I vote yes. Gopal.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next one is the proposed zoning ordinance amendment, accessory structures. This is the second reading of this ordinance amendment to revise the language relating to the timing of detached accessory building construction, which was introduced in January 25th meeting. The proposed amendment would require the completion of the property's principal structure before a building permit could be issued for a detached accessory building. I need more discussion on this.
I think we should just put it to a vote, because I think it doesn't have support. I think it's just gonna go down in flames.
You think it is?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not.
Okay.
So you can get a motion in a second, I guess.
Well, is there any board discussion? Because now, there's two ways of thinking about this. Okay. Mr. Krug and I have dealt with this maybe longer than all of you, because it's been brought to our attention a long time ago. All right, I agree, a structure would be nice, and they would put all their equipment in it and everything like that, protect it. But I also agree on you allow a structure to go up, and there's no limit on when they're going to build a house. Now, you go, let's say Liberty Shores. You go down Liberty Shores, and you might have a pole barn on that lot.
Well, if their site condo doesn't stop that, shame on.
Okay, all right, let me try a
What's it
different
called?
one then.
What am I looking for? John, what's the
Master Deed.
master?
Master
All
deed.
right, but not all have that, because it already happened on, I don't know the name of the subdivision,
Macaulay Lake.
Macaulay Lake subdivision. There's an enormous pole barn with no intent to build a house. So now these people are driving around, and there's some houses being built, but to the degree, no, because they don't want to look at a pole barn. Now, this building's gorgeous. So I weigh both ways on this. I believe construction materials yes, can be stolen, but they can also be stolen out of a barn also. You know, they take trailers, they take all kinds of stuff. So when trusses come in, I mean, no, we're not gonna have that happen, but still, I'd hate to see a lot of vacant lots with pole barns on them.
I think it should go, if somebody wants to do this, to you know, to review. You know, there's so few. We talked about this last time. How many?
You're right.
How many do we have? I think it's something that we
4
have.
22 years.
4 and 22 years.
Yeah.
I'm-
So
Well,
I'm not opposed to it. I
question
don't
that
want to see it
number.
either, but.
I
Valerie, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be in a position to know
Yeah.
one way or the other. But that's what we were told, 4 and 22 years. And the planning commission looked at it and said, that's not enough reason to change the ordinance.
You're right,
'Cause
you're
we've-
right, if it's only 4.
Because we've played around with a lot of different things. Because one of the other options was, okay, if you're going to come in, you want to build the detached accessory structure first, show us that you got the money to do the house. Well, people
Well,
didn't want
that's
to do
not
that because you're starting to dive into some of the financial stuff. You know, show us the commitment letter, show us the bank account. Well, didn't really want to do that. So it's a problem because if you let them do it first, you do run the risk that's being propagated here is you can have a lot that has an accessory structure and doesn't have a
Doesn't have
house
to have
for
a
a long
house.
time.
For my knowledge and the residents, if, let's say I went out and I bought a piece of land and I wanted to do this, who am I gonna go in front of right now? to do?
You'd have to get a variance.
Okay, so what board am I going in front of?
Well, if you came right now, as it stands right now, you wouldn't go in front of any board.
I'm gonna go, just
You-
get my permit.
You go in and fill out your building
Building
permit
permit free.
application. They say, okay, you know, if you just come in with just a attached accessory building, they're gonna tell you no.
I was gonna say, they'll say no.
They're gonna say no. If you come in and say, I want to do a house and an attached accessory structure, they're gonna give you a building permit for both of those, because you said that's what you're gonna do. Okay, what the current amendment proposes is that the only thing you would get in that scenario is a building permit for the principal structure. You'd have to come in after the C of O was issued for the house, principal structure, and then you'd ask for another building permit for the accessory structure, because you've now completed the principal structure.
But if I wanted to just build this accessory building, what am I gonna do from that point? I'm just.
Depends on how big.
It's just no,
You
right?
gotta get a
No.
building
You
permit.
could get a variance.
It depends on, it's on a square footage of how
The
many
size your house
accessory, well, no, the size of your lot and the size of the accessory building. So if you had a regular lot and you wanted to put in a 40 by 50 barn, you're gonna have to come to the zoning board of appeal for a variance as far as square footage of the accessory.
Okay, so, I mean, if I
But if
I
you
have a half
kept it
acre lot, how
under-
big am I getting?
I'm not sure.
You'd have to go at your
I can't think of the
scale, yeah.
numbers, but,
It's not big.
24 by
no, it's
24.
not, yeah, it's about.
24 by 24.
and
garage.
It also includes the storage available in the attached home. A la 2-car, 3-car, 1-car. So it's on a scale. Accessory buildings and sightline issues are probably 80% of the cases that come to the zoning board of appeal. So any
You're right.
any control that we can do over either one of those issues,
But what,
I think is
Here's,
helpful.
here's what I'm asking, how big's the accessory building in Macaulay Lake?
Oh,
I'm guessing that it's 40 by 60.
at least.
I'm trying to remember when I built the spec home over at Fenton Orchards. I looked at lots in there, most of those lots were around a half an acre.
You got it, Tom?
So how'd they get such a big accessory building on a lot that size?
Well, I believe the lot in Macaulay, it's 3 lots combined.
And who said that's okay then?
Well, they're
I don't
I
think
believe
they-
they combined 3 lots into one parcel.
Was it approved?
But just to give you an idea, a lot size of 20,000 square feet or less can have 1,010-foot maximum accessory storage. And then it goes up to 35,000, and then that relates to 1,010 to 1,160. The next is 1/4 acre, which is 60,000 square feet.
It's 1.4 acres.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1.4 acres is up to 1,610 square feet in accessory building. So it's a sliding scale, but you can even come in and ask for more than that.
And I understand that, but my point I'm trying to get across is, aren't we supposed to be taking care of that? Aren't we supposed to be governing that? Not through policy, because I believe each situation is its own.
That's what the zoning board is.
Do you see what I'm saying? I believe each situation should be handled on its own, and when you buy a piece of property, you know, I guess I'm a little old-fashioned with this, you know, if you're not hurting anybody else, it's your property. You know, I hate to tell people that you have to build this first, because if I bought truthfully, if I bought a big piece of land, guess what? I am gonna wanna get that accessory building going at the same time. Not before, because I wanna have the guys framing it, I'm gonna go, hey, frame that for me too. And it's a cost factor. So if you tell them you gotta build the house first, then you have to come back and build the accessory
Or build them
building,
at
you're
the same time.
you're penalizing them also. I'm not saying there's something shouldn't be put in place, but I don't feel this is it. I feel very strongly about that. I think if we want to look at it again in a different way, I'm not opposed to that, but I don't think this is it. And secondly, and truthfully, I don't like telling people, you know, what to do, especially if they buy a big piece
The
of
only
land.
thing though, Sean, and you're right, like I said, I teeter-totter both ways. But we do have a lot of lake properties. Okay, a lot of them. Somebody might come in, and I agree, person pays a big price for a piece of property, he should be able to build a building on it to store all the things till he decides to build, but maybe a hardship will come, no building. Now we got a accessory building on a piece of lake property, and the people are not happy, well, like you said, your subdivision or whatever. And if you drive around, you'll see it now. I've sat at these zoning board meetings, and there was a couple of them I thought should have been granted. But that's what the zoning board is. The person needs to come in with a good argument, show them and say, this is why I want to do this. And then I've been there and they've accepted it. So it goes in front of the zoning board, and if they don't like that, they go to the zoning administrator, Doug Pickett.
No,
the
it's
opposite.
reversed.
They come in to Doug Pickett first, and then he'll give his opinion to the zoning board.
But isn't it what you get at the ZBA? I get that sightline and accessory structures are probably 80% of the business, but isn't, with respect to the accessory structures, 90% of those isn't whether you build it first or
No,
second.
you're right.
It's how
It's
big
the
it is.
size.
It's
And
definitely
we're not
size.
doing anything about the size here. This has got nothing to do with size.
We're just
So-
restricting somebody can't build something on their own property that they just built. I mean, if you look at other communities, Bonnie, I would disagree with you 100%. If you look at other communities, especially in Tennessee, Florida, accessory buildings are always built before primary structures, especially on
well,
oceanfront
you're
property
right.
and everything
In
else.
other
And
places-
townships shouldn't be in the business of telling people what they can build first on their
You know what,
property.
Vince, if
There
you
isn't
said-
150,000 ugly buildings in Fenton.
If you sat in my office and you said come in on Tuesdays with the zoning administrator, yes, there's people that are very concerned about having accessories building in their area when they've put a lot of money into houses and they do not know if the person is going to build a house. So I said, I'm teeter-tottering on it. There's pros and cons both ways. We are not dictating to the person. We're trying to help both sides of it. I agree with Sean. Maybe we need to look at it a little bit more and get the language a little bit better. But it is a problem. And if they only say 4, baloney, we can drive around and see. Do we have problems with it? Yeah, because some of these accessory buildings are just for, and I will say it, and one has been built and it's from floor to ceiling, 2 floors high, nothing but junk. Now we've got a blight problem of a building out in a field that is just nothing but junk and junk around it. So I agree with you. Maybe we need to look at this a little bit more, because I think, from just hearing all of you, you're for it. I believe Mr. Krug and I, at this time, is saying that the house should be built before the accessory building. But I'm willing to look at it in different ways too, but you gotta come up with something. you
Well,
know?
we have. This is about the third iteration.
You're right.
And this has the beauty of a bright line. That's what is, it just says you just can't do it. And it's easy to interpret, because we were playing around with some other
Because even you
ideas.
said you were teeter-tottering. Planning
Well,
Commission was
here's
teeter-tottering.
how I look at it. First of all, we have to realize anything we do sitting here tonight is not carved in stone, granite, anything. We can always change it down the road, and I don't like to advocate for reactive legislation when the problem has already happened. But in this situation, to me, sitting here tonight, the bigger problem that I see isn't whether 4 is an accurate number or not, I don't know. I wouldn't change an ordinance because we've had 4 things in 22 years if that's truly an accurate representation of it. But the bigger problem is, we got a lot of theft off construction sites right now. And if we do this, we make that problem worse, and I know that problem exists. It could get to a scenario where we have problems with accessory structures. I would be surprised by that because the lakes are the biggest area where it's of concern. Those are the ones that have by far the most restrictions on them, whether it's a subdivision or a condominium. Those things,
Sightline.
when you look at them, there's always, always is a bad word. Generally speaking, you will find far more restrictions and regulations on lakefront property than you will farm property that's undeveloped.
I agree, totally.
Have you thought about the-
most
I'm
of
sorry.
them- I'm sorry, master, like in the old sub next to you, the old sub.
Yeah.
There's no accessory buildings allowed under the master deed.
Right.
There's none, and most of these developments now are not allowing that, they're putting that in there, there's no
Yeah,
accessory
Fenton
buildings.
Orchards, they couldn't put a shed.
No detached, you could have it part of your garage or whatever if you want to add on, or you want to have a sunroom or whatever maybe, but I sometimes think you can overreach with your residents, trying to protect them too much.
Well, they have a
think we're-
choice, though. When they go to buy a lot, they can look and see, is this a situation
Restrictions.
where somebody can build an accessory structure here without a house? Is this a situation where you can't have a fence? Or, but they can make conscious
need to
decisions
check
when
and
they're
stuff.
buying things. Now, do things change over time? Yeah. Do, building and use restrictions not get followed? Yeah, that happens all the time too. But at least, they've looked at it, they've had a decision, and they've made an economic vote with their dollars when they bought this lot. I'm willing to put my investment in this scenario, whatever that is. No accessory structures, build the whole lot with accessory structures. What we're doing is adding another layer over that of township regulation, and right now what we're proposing is we're just not gonna let you do it under any circumstance. That's really what this.
Unless they
current
go
act
to
is.
zoning, appeal it.
Right, and if really 4 and 22 years is anywhere close to being accurate,
I think
that's
that's
what you should
for
get
the-
for variances.
Uh-huh.
That's what should
is
be going to
the
the
rate.
ZBA.
But if I'm going to look at a piece of property and I'm in a PUD and I understand that I have to look at the documents to tell me what the outside of my structure has to look like, the garage has to look like, I understand that. But to make a township ordinance that could restrict me from selling my land because a guy wants to put a structure on it first, the story is $2 million worth of cars before he builds an $8 million house, you're restricting me from selling my property, and that's not our job.
All right, we will look into it. We
Should we
should
just table this?
table
Or
it. Let's just table it.
make a motion and
Make a
nobody
motion and
support
vote
it,
on
and
it.
it dies from lack of support.
Let's table it and get some other, because this was brought to our attention, the zoning administrator, the planning
it 3
commission,
times.
everybody has worked on it.
You're gonna be called on first, Mark.
And I understand everybody's worked on it, but sometimes, the best laid plans just.
Oh,
they
I
keep pushing them
agree, but I also agree, I see different issues that are happening on mostly lake properties, basically. We've got a situation right now on 2 pods going to be put on a piece of land, on a lake. That's going to be coming up. It isn't our board to make any decisions. But now, I see that, and that can be an accessory building. You know, that can be storage. So I'm looking at it both ways.
But people need to be smart. When I built my house next
Do
to
you have to go to the bathroom?
Let's take 5 minutes.
No, actually, I'm gonna set, Bonnie, I'm gonna set forth,
Mark, we'll take a break.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna set forth a motion. On, what is it,
We just,
zoning 40, or did you
Why don't
already?
I'm just going to table it. Let's table it.
I have the right to set forth the motion.
Go ahead then and make that motion, Mr.
I make the motion.
What is the motion?
To accept, there is no ordinance number on this, I'm sorry.
There's no ordinance number?
No.
They're signed after they're adopted.
this is, we're
Well, wait a minute,
revising.
wait a minute.
Support of an ordinance to amend
594.
Article Number 4 of zoning ordinance number 594 to revise language relating to accessory buildings and structures.
So moved.
Wait, so we are voting on it as it's presented. So a yes vote means you're in favor of the restriction, a no vote means you're not in favor of
Correct.
the restriction. Is that, we're on the same page? Okay. We have a motion and a second, is that where we're at?
Yep,
Do I have a second?
yeah,
Mark's.
or
All
Mark
right.
made the motion.
Any further, do I have a second?
Vince made the motion.
I made the motion.
Any
Okay,
further discussion? Roll call, please.
Gopel,
No.
Tucker,
No?
Lorraine,
No.
Mathis,
Yes.
I vote yes. Shoemaker,
No.
Kessler,
No.
Okay, good, it's defeated.
it's dead.
All right, the next thing is unfinished business. I
Why don't we
have,
take 5 minutes?
oh, for Mr. Gopal.
Oh,
No.
one thing left?
Yeah,
Yep.
the letter of
no on that.
retirement from Mr. Cooley.
I'm voting no
Oh, you
too.
want to take a
Tell you
break?
right now.
No, I'm just,
Oh, okay.
we're gonna be doing that for
All
like a
right.
half hour, so I
In your
figured I'd-
package, gentlemen, is Mr. Cooley has given his letter of retirement. And Mr. Cooley now has been here for 45 years. He took office on December 17th, 1970. And
You know, great, I was.
I personally hate to see him go, but I understand. But Mr. Cooley also has told the township board that he'll stay here until we get a replacement. And Tom, you have already put into the legal,
Not yet, I gotta.
all right, he's got to put it in,
We're gonna do that sometime in November, I think.
yeah. So I need, is there any board discussion? If not, I need a motion to accept with great regrets the retirement of Township Attorney Richard E. Cooley to be effective when a new Township Attorney has been appointed.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Nobody supported it, dies.
Yeah, you're right.
Really, thank you for your service.
And
Dick, I'm sorry you're here, bud.
any further discussion?
I'm sorry, I missed who made the second.
Who's second?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Kessler,
Yes.
I vote yes. Shoemaker,
Yes.
Lorraine,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Tucker,
No.
Gopel.
Yes.
Oh, it was close.
Yes.
I don't pull any weight around
Thank you for your
here.
years of service, sir.
Oh, yes.
Thank you
Just
so much.
imagine.
That's pretty awesome.
Your father served under him.
Same time.
And
They
so
came
did my
on around
dad.
Same time in 70.
That's
And
pretty
you
good
were a
haul.
very young man to be an attorney for a township.
Yeah.
Now the different applications will come in and we'll have Mr. Cooley review them.
Please.
Help us on helping us make decisions in regards to that. So we'll see how many we get. Mr. Cooley thinks a lot, John thinks a lot of applications. We also need to have an attorney that has done some work with government. You know, I don't know how Tom is going to write that application, but I think that's important. Municipality, background at all. So, but we got him here for a while anyway. All right, board comments. Are there any other comments for the members of the board?
I would like to make sure we schedule a workshop to take care of Mr. Broker's contract.
Okay. All right, do we have a calendar? And you gentlemen like it on Mondays?
Before the meetings are great.
Well, it won't be, it's going to be longer than that. We could do it on the opposite Monday. Now, next
We can
Monday,
do
the
it in
15th,
March.
we're closed, President's Day.
Well, we could still have workshop. The office is closed.
You're right, or go into March. What is
Well,
your,
29th is open too.
I
What do you
will not
have
be
next?
here, but that doesn't mean
no, we
anything.
need everybody in regards to this.
I will not be able to give you a commitment one way or another until I have my actual planner. I
Okay,
mean, you can set a date, but I can't.
why don't we put a couple dates, and then then Mark would be able to do that for us.
Yeah, because I can always email Tom as far as when.
What goes into March? What's our
March
board-
is 7th and the 21st
Yeah.
is
So we
our
got the
normal one. So we-
14th.
14th and 28th.
How about the 14th and 28th? And we would start it at 7 o'clock.
When is Easter's April? No, it's end of March, isn't it?
Yeah, Easter is the end of March.
March 14th.
Easter's the 27th, Vince, of March.
Oh,
so
Easter is
the
20.
28th is really when you
So
want to do it.
28th is not good because people
No.
are
No,
gone.
not going to happen.
All right, March 14th.
Or we can go with Vince to Florida and work it out down
I
there.
was going to say I'm going to be gone, but I really want to be here.
Yeah, I want a full
Are you gonna be gone on
board.
the 14th?
I
I'm
think
gonna be gone
so.
on the 14th.
All right.
Yep.
no.
So am
Okay,
I.
now we got to go into,
No, do we
well,
have?
can we pick a different night of the month?
Can we
of
go
the week?
before the 7th? What's wrong with the 29th?
Somebody was gone.
I will
Bob's
be
gone,
gone.
so that,
Okay. And no
Does it have to
20.
be on a Monday?
No.
no,
Do
No.
Thursdays.
Thursdays,
Yeah, or
you
even
got-
Tuesdays. I can do Tuesdays or Thursdays.
planning and zoning, just pick up
We
whatever.
don't have a ZBA till the 23rd, so on Tuesdays you have the 9th and 16th. On Thursday, you would be the 11th and 18th.
Wait a second. Next Tuesday's the 16th?
No, I'm sorry. You have the 9th
That's
and the
tomorrow.
16th, which is tomorrow
And a week
and
from
next week.
All right, let's say
16th, I'm,
tomorrow's going to be too soon. Let's
Okay.
do 20, we have February
What
23rd.
about, the 23rd?
So we have a ZBA then.
Oh, you got a ZBA, so we can't do that.
The 16th's too soon?
'cause that's perfect.
16th?
Yeah.
You're not going to be here though, Bob.
No, I will be here on the 16th.
16th.
You won't
I
be here
will
the
not be
15th,
here on the 29th.
I'm in the
Or the
hospital.
23rd.
Oh, Mr. Broker's in the hospital
Well,
that
this will
day.
just be.
Well, he
at
wouldn't
this
be
time,
here
he
anyway.
wouldn't be-
Well,
You
if-
wouldn't be
if-
here.
If I'm not required to
It's
be there,
just-
then that's fine.
Yeah, it's just a workshop.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Just a workshop. Then we'll bring
Mr.
you
Shoemaker?
into,
What day
into a
we looking
meeting
at,
time.
16th? I'll
16th.
make it, yeah, we'll make it work.
Okay, 16th, 7 o'clock workshop. Mark, we came with one date only,
What month?
February 16th.
February 16th?
Tuesday.
Okay.
A week from tomorrow.
So when will you know?
Well, my schedule at work is done a month in advance, and I just have it on my calendar, so I don't know exactly what days I'm actually working.
Okay, will
So I
you
just, when I go home, I can find it.
find it and then just call Tom tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Good.
7?
February
7.
16th.
Can we make it earlier than 7? Can we start at like 6?
Perfect with me.
And then get it done earlier so we can go home
John,
and
is
eat?
that gonna work for you?
I'll make it work.
6 would be perfect.
Okay.
I want to miss Family Feud, dang it.
You ever hear of a DVR?
Yeah, I was going to say, have you ever heard of something that records?
That has never been uttered. in
All right,
history.
there's no public, so I will say good evening. The meeting's adjourned. Okay. Oh, John?